Today we're in a dream garage at Hinckley at Triumph's HQ. The Triumph factory is just over there, and behind us is a dream garage of the new classic range from Triumph for 2021. So Steve, you've been busy.
We have.
Not just one new model, but we have an abundance of new models, which I guess is all in line for Euro 5, which is the main reason for the launch of the new models.
So Euro 5 is definitely a part of the update, but you know, for us, we didn't want the update to be, you know, it's a Euro 5 update. So the thing that we've focused on is really moving the models on, moving them forward, giving them a bit more performance and capability, and kind of responding to what the customers are telling they want to see in terms of improvements.
Yeah. So if we start with I guess the main Bonneville, the iconic one.
T120.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that has got, if I remember, this revised engine, so it's now Euro 5, but you've reduced the weight.
So we've reduced the weight and the inertia. So in terms of changes to the internals, we've taken some weight off of the crankshaft, off of the clutch, off of the balancer shafts. So that gives part of the weight. So overall there's a 7 kilo weight reduction on the bike. Significant part of that is on those kind of rotating mass internals, which help with the inertia. And then the other big part of the weight reduction is we've gone to the aluminium rims, which obviously in terms of the dynamics and the handling of the bike make quite a big difference.
Yeah. And what is the actual weight saving with the wheels?
So it's about just over 2 kilos.
So it's 1 kilo per wheel?
Yeah, 1 kilo
almost.
Per wheel.
Which is a lot.
Which is a lot. Yeah, it's a lot unsprung mass, obviously, and then, you know, obviously rotating inertia as well. So, you know, quite a different feel to the ride. You know, a lot easier to kind of turn into the bends, a lot lighter steering in many ways. So it just makes it a kind of a more comfortable ride, I guess.
Yeah, and the Brembo on the brakes as well.
So obviously a T120, we've got the twin discs, twin pot Brembos on the front. So again, another nice little upgrade. Again, responding to feedback from the customers really in terms of, you know, we prefer to have the Brembo brakes on the front of the bike.
But the engine itself is pretty similar. What you've essentially done is just reduced the weight of the moving parts inside the engine, which makes it
exactly
easier.
I mean, there's clearly changes that we've had to make for Euro 5.
Yeah.
So top end of the engine, there's secondary air has been added, obviously to lean the exhaust gases out.
Right.
And then another big part of Euro 5 is you know, you get more catalysts basically, so it's bigger catalysts, more precious metals in there, so that's all.
But it's amazingly well hidden.
Yeah, you know, we've always had that kind of expansion box sat underneath the engine.
Yeah, it's always worked well.
It's always worked well. It's nice and clean. Just gives that kind of classic style into it.
Yeah, it does look lovely. And then we're down to the T100. So the difference between the T100 and the T120 is only 8 kilograms now, because the T120's come down in weight.
Yep, T120's come down. We've taken a bit of weight out of the T100 as well, so we've got 4 kilos out of the T100. That's predominantly the changes that we've made to the engine. So yeah, and then obviously, again, we've got the Brembo caliper on the front, single disc on here. On all of these bikes, there's been changes to the riding modes. So we've now got a unique traction control and ABS map between the road and the rain modes.
So road has a certain engine characteristics and a certain traction and certain ABS?
So certain traction, certain ABS. There's no difference in the power output between the road and the rain, but it's more kind of giving a bit more confidence in rain mode, a little bit more intervention, a little bit more electronic assistance in trickier conditions.
Safety. Yeah. And the ABS and the traction is still conventional. We're not IMU'd and lean angled.
No.
Because you kind of wouldn't on these type of bikes, essentially.
Yeah.
And was there ever a discussion where you was possibly going to go to the twin disc, or was it always going to be single disc on the?
No, it was always going to be single disc on the T100. I think, you know, obviously the T100 is really important for us in the range in terms of being an entry point for a lot of customers. Yeah. So what we see across these bikes is we get a real broad range of customers. So, you know, aging from people in their 20s all the way through to guys in their 70s. My dad's just bought his new one. He's he's 80 this year. So
Yeah.
you know, you get that kind of age range on here. But this bike and also the Street Twin has been really important for people who are kind of new into biking, or maybe it's their first big bike. And you know, because it is their first big bike, they want something that's confidence inspiring, but also, you know, they don't want to overstretch themselves in terms of how much they want to pay for it. So you know, it's really key that you get the balance of that right in terms of the spec, but also hitting a price point that people are comfortable with.
Yeah. So I've got price at 10.8 for the Bonneville.
Yep.
That's correct. Cool. Which is, how much of an increase is that over the previous? It's only a few £100s.
So a few £100, yeah.
Yeah, which is palatable. And then the Street Twin.
Yep.
Which we did the launch 2019.
Yeah, so obviously
Great bike.
This had an update just over 12 months ago now. So
yeah,
this has already been changed to Euro 5, and obviously it's had the engine changes made to it. What we've focused on this year on the Street Twin is making some improvements in the cosmetics. So we've got a new side panel on here, got a new throttle body cover, we've got a new headlight mount bracket. And then we've made changes to the seat, so we've added more comfort in the seat.
It wasn't like it was an uncomfortable bike.
No, but again, you know, it's just responding to, you know, customers really, and asking them what are some of the things that you would change. One of the things people said is, you know, we like the bike, we love how confidence inspiring, we like the low seat, but we'd like a little bit more comfort.
Yeah.
So we've just responded to that really.
Okay, so essentially the T100 has got what happened to the Street Twin in 2019 engine-wise.
So engine-wise, internally these bikes are the same.
Yeah.
You get a slightly different power and torque curve because you've got different exhaust systems on them.
Oh really?
So that creates a slight difference in terms of the engine.
With the routing and the piping and the length.
Yeah, and particularly the shapes of the silencer as well.
Yeah, but it's going to be.
Yeah, it's small difference.
Pretty small. And then we go on to the Speedmaster.
Yeah. Which is that one there?
I as we were talking earlier on, I was convinced I'd not ridden it, and then remembered that I rode it for a couple of days in California. And then it was such a great bike to ride. I remember riding it. It was funny because I had a bit of a flashback last night when I was doing my research, and I loved the laid back riding position. It was a comfy bike.
Well, California was perfect for that, wasn't it?
Oh, it was such a great trip.
You know, going down that beach road in California, kind of just sat with that laid back, those kind of beach bars, cruising along. You know,
open face crash helmet, sunglasses. It was perfect.
Brilliant.
It was perfect. And the changes for this model.
So again, it's responding really to customer feedback. I mean, one of the things that has been really popular on this bike is people who really love the bobber. Yeah. But you know, they want to take somebody on the back of it. So you know, they want to take their partner or whatever. And that twin seat setup, it gives you kind of the attitude of the bobber, a little bit more laid back, but also gives you the opportunity to take somebody on the back. The feedback we were getting from customers is, you know, I like to go touring on this bike, I'd like a little bit more comfort out of it. Yeah. So we've put more comfortable seats on it. It's got a larger pillion pad on there. We've got the lumbar support on the rider seat as well.
Well, that was an accessory, wasn't it?
We had that as an accessory option previously. It's now part of the standard bike. And then on the front end of the bike, we've gone for the larger diameter 47mm cartridge forks.
They're the shower forks.
Yeah. So obviously with the cartridge damping on there and the slightly larger diameter, you get a bit of better control over the damping. Just gives a bit more control and better feel on the front end of the bike. And
that's all for mainly for comfort rather than...
Mainly for comfort, yeah.
And you still do the where this clips off and you get the little rack?
Yeah, so I mean, again, the other good thing about this bike is, you know, you can take a pillion on it, but if you want to convert it into a single seat, you can absolutely do that. You can it's quite easy to take the pillion pad off, you can take the ironwork off the back of the bike, you can put a little rack on the back, and you can kind of give it that kind of bobber style, but still then have the opportunity to put the pillion seat back on it.
Yeah. And then finally, as we move on to the bobber, which I've always loved, since we did the drag racing, that was great fun. Quite a lot of changes for that model. So we've gone up in fuel tank capacity.
We have.
And we're sticking with the 16 front wheel.
So going forwards, we've got one version of the bobber.
Yeah, because you had the bobber and the bobber black.
So before we had the bobber and the bobber black, obviously we had the larger diameter front wheel and slightly thinner tyre on the traditional bobber. What we found once we launched the bobber black was that front end was so popular, and people who had bought the bobber said, well, why don't you just do that on all bobbers, because you know it's a look that we like. but also, you know, it kind of gives that muscularity to the front end of the bike. So, you know, we've got the 47 millimeter diameter forks on there. We've got the twin disc setup, but you know, as you've said, the big change is the increase in the fuel tank volume. So we're going up to 12 litres. And again, you know, feedback from customers was, love the bike, great to ride.
Yeah, it was like a 9 litre tank on it previously.
Great fun, but quite frankly, I'd rather ride for longer. So
yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's good on fuel. That 1200 engine is good on fuel. So the tank range, I think 30%. Is that right?
Yeah. So we've gone from, like you say, you've gone from the 9 to the 12 litre, 7 to the 12 litre tank. So quick sums in your head must be.
So the tank range is going to be a significant increase on that one.
Correct.
And what have you, when you had the 19 and now you've gone to 16 on the front end, have you compensated that with the chassis?
So it's really, it's the same chassis that we had on the Bobber Black, effectively. So there's no real changes to the chassis.
Okay, and obviously again, that's Euro 5.
Euro 5.
Same as the T120.
Euro 5, same as the other bikes, and again, reduction in inertia in the engine just to, you know, help the bike spin up a little bit faster.
Okay, but the actual peak power and peak torque is the same.
It's
just the fact that you're changing the internals, so it'll make it spin quicker.
It just spins a bit quicker.
And the rev line, is that higher?
No, it's still the same.
Still the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. Sport for choice.
What do you want? Which one do you want?
It's one of those, it's a great scenario to be in doing the job that I do, because when I rode the Street Twin, and I can remember doing the launch on that bike, I had so much fun on that bike, as we called it, an entry level, because that's the A2 compliant.
Yeah, all the 900s are A2.
Yeah, and I can remember thinking A2 compliant, but that was a brilliant bike to ride. I had so much fun on that. The California, as we were saying, open face crash helmet.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. And I just love the style and the attitude of the Bobber.
And you did well not to remind people that you won the race.
Still got the trophy, still got the petrol tank. Did I beat Cal Foggy? I did I? Well, yeah, you kind of, I mean, we haven't touched on the accessories. I think in the briefing, over 300 if we add them all together.
Yeah, over 300 accessories, and obviously we've got some accessories on some of these bikes. On the Bobber, you've got the footboards on the front, so as standard that comes as a mid-peg. You've got the quilted accessory seat on there. On this bike, you've got the fly screen and you've got the backrest, but customers of these bikes, over 85% of people will do some kind of customization or accessorization of the bike. So, you know, having those 300 odd accessories is a huge part of the offering for us.
Okay. And just to clarify, the traction control and the ABS is standard on all models?
Correct.
And the rider modes is standard on all models? Cruise control is on?
So cruise control you've got on the Bobber, you've got it on the Speedmaster, and you've got it on the T120.
Okay, and that's standard, that's stock?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, no need to pay extra.
Sorry?
No need to pay extra.
No. As you say, it's one of those things, isn't it? You kind of go, honestly, you know, I want to go, you know, to the village pub and I want to go on that one, and you want to go cruising on this one. It's kind of, but the Street Twin, I was like so impressed by that, as you say, as the entry level bike. It was an impressive bike at a competitive price. So. But maybe that one.
Yeah, you have to fight Dick for that.
Okay, thanks for your time, mate.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. Whilst we're here at Triumph, we've just got a bit of a special treat, because what's unique with Triumph is that when they claim they have a classic range, they can put their history right back to the original Bonneville, this is what it is. This is the Bonneville T120. Miles is an expert. I am not. I'm just admiring the looks. Please tell us more. What year is this? This is the original first one.
I wouldn't call myself an expert, but this is the this is the first year of what I think has gone on to be quite a legendary motorcycle. So it's the Bonneville T120. This was launched in 1959, and it replaced, or it was the generational update from what the predecessor was called the Tiger 110, and that was marketed as going 110 miles an hour. So of course 120 was a bit of an arms race. Twin carburetors to deliver more power and performance, and targeted to start with mainly at the American market, or it was created from the pressure of the American market looking for more performance. So the 110 was evolved, redesigned, and you have the Bonneville.
And this just went crazy in America. This started a whole icon, this started a culture, this started
I would say worldwide. Maybe not initially. This was a touch maybe too Americana to start with, and after the first bike they tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, I'd say this is one of those rare things you can call an icon, a proper icon.
Yeah.
In Europe, this became the cafe racer, teenage hooligan motorcyclist bike of choice.
This was the ton-up club. This was the
because 2 cylinders, 2 carbs meant you could take anyone off the lights. You could be king of the hill. Whereas in racing terms, the prototype was immediately put on track in the Thruxton 500 race series, which was the sort of the national race series of the day. Mike Hailwood, actually, legendary Mike Hailwood, rode the prototype and won on it. And because it did well there, it was nicknamed the Thruxton. That's where the name Thruxton came from. It was the Bonneville T120 designed to race in the Thruxton series. So it was nicknamed the Thruxton. And then that went on to, it broke records at the Isle of Man. This was the first 100 mile an hour. And that was Triumph's test riders, so Percy Tate and also Malcolm Uphill, not necessarily in that Tate rode in a different place, but Malcolm Uphill basically broke that 100 mile an hour lap. And then... and
that was in the production class at the Isle of Man. I mean, that's 100 mile an hour average. It's hard going now.
And never mind. I think historically that wasn't an incredibly invested race effort from Triumph. So that was, the team working very hard to prove their point. And then in the States, sales exploded, and then this became the bike of choice for famous motorcyclists. So this is what Evel Knievel rode.
This was the first jump, because everybody thinks he jumped on a Harley. No, the first he was on a.
Well, he that was his first televised jump. That's when he became a superstar. They had a world of sport national telecast, and he jumped Caesar's Palace fountains on this, and then he went on to the Harley afterwards.
That's right.
His one was called Colour Me Lucky. Fabulous paint scheme, red, white, and blue paint scheme with circles on the design. Steve McQueen famously took these into the desert. Bud Eatkins, who was a very successful Hare and Hounds international racer. And that was adapted and made into an off-road. This was the best bike of the day. This changed the sort of the world of performance motorcycling. I mean, it looks like a classic, but actually...
But in its day, this was the rocket ship. This was the bike that, if you turned upon this, you were the man.
You were the daddy. This was the original British superbike, I would say. And like I say, don't let the classic looks fool you. This pretty much set the bar. And then from there, people made off-road races of it. The beginning of the Scrambler world started with the TT version, this T120 TT. Those were the original desert sleds. We also had the cafe races, of course, the Thruxton races. People turned them into bobbers, into cruisers. The famous Officer and a Gentleman Richard Gere bike, a T140. That's the cruiser version. And that was then, but actually that history has continued. So this is sort of the seed that sits at the heart of the family today.
But you can see that when you look at the modern bikes. You can see the swept exhaust. You can see that, the seat, the shape, and everything.
And also it's the look, with the knee pads and all that, but also the twin engine. That vertical parallel twin, that was invented by Triumph. Edward Turner designed that for the Thunderbird. He came in from Ariel, transformed Triumph's fortunes. Post Second World War, Triumph suddenly became the brand to have because of that engine that was in the Thunderbird that Marlon Brando rode in the Wild One. And that engine developed is exactly what we have today. That's, it's a development of that science and technology refined.
And this actual model that we've got in front of us, this has been fully restored by...
So this is one of Dick Shepherd's restorations. So we have a visitor centre in Hinckley.
Yes.
We've got a lot of classic motorcycles there. Almost all of them are actually owned by Dick Shepherd. I'd say he's the world's authority on classic Triumph. If you've got a classic and you want to know if it's the real thing, Dick's your man, and he does an impeccable job of restoring these. And it's just... They famously called this the world's fastest motorcycle because it was named after the 1956 land speed record.
Because not a lot of people associate the Bonneville with the Bonneville name with the Bonneville salt flats. I don't know why you think people call it a Bonneville, but
that's exactly where it comes from. Of course, America was such a big market for Triumph in the late 50s. They were selling lots of Tigers, Tiger 110s, Tiger 90s, that the American team wanted more performance. And when they developed the bike, they decided to use the name Bonneville because in 1956 a Thunderbird-powered streamliner had broken the land speed record. And then they advertised this as the world's fastest motorcycle. obviously that's a...
It's a great way of just
Yeah.
imagine doing that now. The fastest bike, there you go.
Well, we got Guy Martin and a carbon streamliner of our own, so
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
there at the salt flats with him. Was that a couple of years ago?
that was then. Yeah, it's still underwater, I think, but or maybe not.
And this was a genuine 120 mile an hour.
I don't know. I can't.
But it was definitely over 100 miles an hour because this is the whole ton up club. This
was the ton up club of the era.
Imagine doing 100 miles an hour on it.
I mean, we're very close here to Myra.
Yeah.
Myra was, and still is for Triumph, one of the biggest sort of test facility areas. So they would have certainly put this through its paces, and twin carbs on what was already a very well developed engine with the Tiger Ton 10 would have done some numbers. I'm not sure about 120, but
in the day it'd be over 100 miles an hour with shoe brakes, right foot change, probably not even crash helmets.
brave.
Awesome,
Brave.
I think it's awesome.
I think we should get down the Ace Cafe and put
I
one
would
of these out
love
with
to
the
ride it.
little
I'd love
circular.
to have a go at trying to do 100 miles an hour on it, but it's just too beautiful to ride almost.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. And
You're very welcome.
if you need a home for it, I don't mind. It'll go in the front room quite nicely.
I'll let Dick know. He may do you a good price.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Okay.